Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham of goodforthegame.co.za. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. Time for the Handicap rugby chat that matters. On tonight's show, we're going to be looking at the URC into week 3 of action. And we'll touch on the NPC. Why are we doing that? Well, look who returns, the Mossman. He's back. He, of course, focuses on his URC, but also on his NPC. We'll get that. And, of course, I'm joined in the studio by the Oracle as well. The Mossman is running a little bit late, or he did say he was likely to run late. He had some lifts. He's, of course, in Auckland, New Zealand. He had some lifts to do. He had to lift his kid to school. And that means Oracle and I have got the start of the show to ourselves. Oracle, I'm sitting here in my dining room. I was kicked out of the study today. I had a lot of calls to make. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Brent. But I do remember this. This is the chap that had that grand piano and that wife that walked behind the couch and sort of muttered to him. I remember him, the New Zealander. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Yeah, I must say I get a lot of I've got a lot of emails. People who respond to my newsletter actually and ask what's happened to Nathan. Will Nathan be back? So yeah, I think there'll be a lot of guys happy to see him. But before we get stuck into things, we've already got a few boys joining us on the live show. Farid saying, "Good evening, Mana. Bokke did the business." Yes, Farid, they certainly did. Peter Paul, welcome to you, mate. And 2M Systems, Nanse Manera, which, Farid spoke English there, but 2M Systems is fully into Afrikaans. Good night, Misters, Manera, Mana. I suppose very much the same as what Farid said there. Kev, I guess before we get into URC, last week, big win for the Boks against Argentina. You watched the game, of course. Were you impressed?
I was, Brent, and I think the most impressive to me was, I don't remember exactly what the comment was that I made last week, if even I did make a comment about the discipline. So the Argentinians come into that game, not a single yellow card, not a single red card. This is their best disciplined season ever. I mean, you and I, we've watched them since 2011 or 2012 or whatever it is. They used to, like, you could almost take that they'd get a red card with almost racing certainty that
yes.
If you lost your money, you were in the race. You weren't like left out. And they get to Nelspruit and suddenly they've left their report card or their report on how well they've done disciplinary on a disciplinary issue, and they get 2 yellow cards and a red card. It's a pity, though, that red card was so late in the end of the game. We didn't see the benefit of it. And when I say the benefit of it, I've been an advocate for, don't punish the game, punish the player. I've been talking about this for years. And I really like the system. But, if somebody gets a red card after the 60th minute or close to the 60th minute, it doesn't really have the impact that it does. You'll remember that game, the Rebels played the Sharks. It was 9-9. 9-9 back in 2017 or 2016.
Biggest spread betting loss of my life. I chased it half-time on overs on shirts on that game. Biggest spread betting loss of my life. In fact, might have been the last time I spread bet. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, but you'll remember that the Sharks guy got the red card. No, sorry. The handicap that day was 18. And the Ike's at the office said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going Rebels plus 18. And they said, "Why?" I said, "It's too high. Too high, whatever. Just too high." And the Sharks side got the red card, I think, in the 9th minute. And then that gingerhead character from New Zealand got the red card in like the 68th or whatever minute. The reality is they're both red cards, but they have different values in the game because a red card at 9 minutes and a red card at 63 minutes are vastly different. They're not the same. Yes, they're the same on paper, but they're not the same. And World Rugby, and I've been an advocate for it, and I know they trialled it with Varsity Cup, punish the player, not the game. And that game was, in particular, I was very irritated. In fact, a lot of Sharks players Sharks supporters were irritated. Living in Durban at the time, they weren't happy that the game had been messed up with these 2 red cards. So when I watched the Argentinians implode, I'd like to say, not explode, implode, I was disappointed. And I think they realized they couldn't win the game. South Africa were far better. So well done to everybody that backed South Africa. I had a small bet on Argentina to win the game. At a plus bet as well, lost there. Interestingly, the only game I got right was the Lions game. And it's the game I actually bothered to go out and find out the strength of the team. Thanks to my Bluttersgroen. I went to my mate in Ireland and I said, this Ulster team that come into South Africa, are they any good? And he said to me, yeah, it's a good team on paper, but they're not playing very well. And yeah, he wasn't surprised that the Lions won the game. And for me, it was the Lions were good. So yeah, the game I was worried about was the game that I got right.
Yeah, it often works that way, man. But I want to just bring in Shane's comment here because I don't know what he means here. It says, ask Oracle, does he know the record Scott Walker? The old man is back again. You know it, Oracle?
I do not know who Scott Walker is. Shane, I'd like to. I hate to admit. But I hate to admit I can't answer a question, especially a rugby question. I'm very good with my general knowledge and my understanding of rugby.
I'm not convinced that's a rugby question. I'm not convinced that's a rugby question. I'm wondering if there's a song called "The Old Man Is Back Again." What do you think?
Is he next to a river? The old man that next to a river. I don't know.
Anyway, let's start talking. We will hopefully Nathan will join us soon. Hopefully, as we caught up in New Zealand, rush hour traffic. But let's go into the URC, Gav. We got 8 games to get through of the URC, and the first up on a Friday night, it's Cardiff plus 6.5 against Glasgow, of course, the defending champions. We've got a points line here of 47.5. Now, yeah, I must say, I handicapped all 8 games, and I was totally shocked when the bookmakers came out within 2 points of me. I thought, the early stages of the competition, I thought we'd have quite a big difference of opinion, but not seeing a lot of value in these handicaps. But what do you make here? Cardiff at home plus 6.5.
This is the game that I said last week. Take the plus team, and they were plus 2.5 against the other Welsh team, if I remember correctly.
Just repeat that.
I think it was plus 2.5. They played Scarlets, I think, last week. I'm just getting up the. Excuse me, I'm just getting up the last.
Just while you're looking for that, just David, Mossman just running a little bit late at the moment, and Sean also joining us. So good to have you on the show there, man. Fareed saying Glasgow should make the cap. Cardiff still looked average. I've looked at conditions here, Gav. I can tell you it looks reasonable.
I'm not of the opinion that they look average. I was impressed with that when I watched that game. This was the plus that I liked. I just home. I know. You know what? It's funny because I'm like, don't back the Welsh. They're the worst of the countries playing in this tournament. But how do you feel when you get 2 Welsh teams playing? You've called a plus. I don't know. I just like it. I think 6.5 is enough. And again, it's one of those games, Brent, where the handicap 6. Take the board. You're going to get 8, 15, 16, 18 to 10. I'm happy with Cardiff on the board here. They're at home, and I know it's the defending champions, and I know how they won the tournament last year. Yeah, I'm a small board punter here on Cardiff. I think it's good enough. They got over the line last week where they were the plus team. They won comfortably. I say comfortably, it was 8 or 9 points, but I was happy with what I saw. So I'm a plus punter here. Sorry, I'm a board punter on the plus team. The plus team. 90.
100%. You're taking the underdog here.
I'm not very confident, though, I must say. I'm sorry, Brent. I just want to point out something else. And I don't know how you feel about this, but when Super Rugby started, we weren't betting in South Africa. It was in the mid-90s. And when we started getting into pricing up these games, and I was one of the first in the country in 1999, 2000, pricing these games up, it was easy to understand what was going on because we had data. We had 4, 5, 6 years of data. This it's been Pro 12, Pro 14, Pro 16. Now we had URC. We don't know exactly what's going on in this tournament, and it's very difficult to look at a handicap. I used to be able to look at a Super Rugby handicap on a Thursday night and go, this team should be plus 6 and they plus 9, or this team should be minus 5 and they minus 12. Today it's difficult in this tournament. We're in our 3rd year, or going into our 4th year. Sorry, we've had 3 finals. It's not as easy as Super Rugby was, so we've got to get used to this. And I'm going to tell you that when I'm calling Cardiff on the board here, I'm going half a unit or 1 unit. I'm not going maximum here. Whereas if this was 2002, 2003, I'm having a bigger bet comfortably.
Right. Well, I'm leaning points here. I'm leaning overs. Had a look at conditions, but this game kicks off at the same time as another game on Friday night, and for me, it's not really necessary to get involved in both. And I do quite like a bet in this next game. But here we got the same handicap. We've got the home team, the Welsh team, plus 6.5 against a Connacht side that came back from, I think it was 27-7 down at halftime or something like that to beat the Sharks last week. And we've got a points line here of 48.5.
So I watched that game. That first half was absolute. Oh, sorry. I've got one more thing to say against Supersport. I know I keep ranting on about other stuff, Brent, but geez, like, why are they putting the Stormers and the Sharks on at the same time? What's all that about? That's crazy. I wasn't happy with that at all.
Crazy.
Anyway,
I doubt a Supersport's call, but it is crazy, yeah.
Well, they should be part of it because they're paying for it. I mean, our advertising, they're paying for it. Anyway, I like the Sharks. I like the Sharks in that game, and I was disappointed in how they finished it. But geez, absolutely. Connacht. Another guy asked me today, what do I like? I said, you've got to go Connacht here against Scarlets. Yeah. Connacht minus for me.
Connacht on the minus. I like total points here, 48.5. Conditions look like they're going to be pretty good. Connacht have played in a couple of high-scoring games already, and I do like the points here. I think this is going to be a points flowing in this one. I'm going over 48.5. By the way, when Mossman comes in, assuming that he does make it, and we'll obviously go back to his games.
He'll definitely make it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he will. Lions minus 8.5 against Edinburgh. This is, of course, now on Saturday, Gav. Conditions should be good for this game. The Lions team did well against Ulster last week. And for me, there's a standout here. I'm not going to say what it is just yet, but what are your views on this game?
Double digits for me. I think the Bulls were poor against this Edinburgh team. I like the Lions here. And yes, it sounds a bit biased, but geez, they dismantled that Ulster team properly. In fact, if you watch that first, I'm not going to say 40 minutes, you watch the first 60 minutes of that game, Brent, Ulster were barely in the Lions half. The fact that they scored points was impressive. I like the Lions team. They look confident. I did suggest both the Lions and the Sharks would come back after that Curry Cup result. The Sharks did in the first half. They didn't complete it in the second half. But yeah, no, I'm a double digits minus Punter on the Lions, and I'm going to suggest that this Edinburgh team could be a bit tired after a couple of weeks at play in South Africa. That I wouldn't be surprised if the minus 20, 20 plus wins here. Lions win this game. I wouldn't go on the points though. I'd be wary of Edinburgh points. I'd be a buyer of Lions points. So at 51 minus 8, 43 is 22, 30. Yeah, Lions score more than 30 here. I'm guessing it's probably 30 or 31, something like that. Could even be 29. So around 30, I'm a Lions over Punter. I say they get the bonus point, their 5-point win. Yeah, I'm a Lions punter. Yeah. There's no evidence for me that Edinburgh beat a weakened Bulls team. So yeah, I'm not a weakened Bulls team. Sorry,
the Bulls, They lost to the Bulls. Yeah,
they beat the Handicap. Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant.
They beat the Handicap.
They beat the Handicap, and for me, the Bulls were poor. They really were poor. I don't think they beat a team that was playing at what we expected them to play at. Yeah,
okay. Fair enough. I think I'm with Johan on this game. Lions and points. I'm definitely looking at the points line. I'm quite confident this 51.5 is going to move. This points line at poker bet. One of the few, I don't know many bookies that have come out early, but this could be one again, guys. I mean, last week I was on the overs in the bot game. Thankfully, I got the early value because by the time it started with 56.5, I was on 51.5 and it ended on 55. So if I'd been late to the party there, I would have lost. So it was good to grab that. Guys, I think this line will definitely move. I was disappointed in Edinburgh last week. I was on their points. I thought they were really poor against the Bulls. I do expect an
They
improvement.
were, but the Bulls were also poor, Brent.
No, the Bulls were poor as well. It was a poor game generally. And I mean, Ulster, I thought the Lions were impressive. Ulster, I must tell you, they cost me the newsletter accumulator last week. We had 10-1. And it wasn't the last leg, but it was, I think, third leg of 4. And I mean, I needed them to get 25 points. I think they ended on 22. But disappointing. But I'm telling you, if I had to pick a best bet right now, I would definitely take the overs there on 51.5. Fareed has said Edinburgh, a small plus for him. I do also fancy Fareed a better performance from Edinburgh, but I'm going to look at points here. I'm not even going to worry about the handicap. Okay, let's move on to the Bulls up against Ulster. We got minus 13.5 Bulls. And I think you're going to tell me this could be 20.
No, I'm going to tell you this Ulster team, as bad as they were against the Lions, they can win this game. What are we talking about? 4-5-1. I'm a small Ulster on the board punter here. And I'll tell you, the Bulls are so disappointing last week, Brent. And I'm going to say that this Ulster team can win. They've learned something from last week. And the Lions are better than the Bulls. I know that everyone thinks the Bulls are better, but they're not better. The Lions are better than the Bulls. This is big. Take the plus here if you're worried, but take Ulster to win this game. They can win this game. And I'm going to say that they're going to win this game. I'm an Ulster on the board punter here. Small, but I'm on them.
Okay, confident call by the Oracle there. Just talking about this point.
But hold on. That's a surprising call for you, right? You didn't expect that.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. Although, as I was saying it, I did remember your comments about Ulster last week that you weren't impressed with them. So then, sorry, that the Bulls last week that you weren't impressed with them.
Yes, no, the Bulls were terrible. They were really terrible.
Yeah, agreed. They weren't impressive last week. 55.5 points. I think the bookies have got this one about right. I won't be rushing into that. I do suspect
55-13. I love doing this calculation. Sorry, 55-13. It's 42-21. I'm going to tell you, go over 21 on Ulster here. Ulster score more than 21 points in this game.
Yeah, I would say I would like the Ulster overs here as well. Let me down a bit last week, but I'm almost thinking that the guys go home after this. They can put everything out there in this game. Cap is too high, says Fareed, but not on the board for Ulster. So he reckons just take the cap there. And we're gonna move on. Let's find the next game. We are a little bit in danger of getting through the URC before Mossman joins us, and you and I are definitely not going to talk about the NPC. So we're going to look at Benetton plus 13.5 against Leinster and points 53.5. Also, conditions to me, well, when I looked at the weather forecast for this one, look reasonable.
Brent, I was a Benetton punter last week, and I was full of confidence. But I'm going to tell you, there's absolutely no chance. This team looked like absolute rubbish as well. My gosh, no. This is under Benetton points, so 53 minus 13 is 20. They won't score 20 points against Leinster. That's number one. And Leinster probably beat this handicap, and they could actually win this game by 30. So I'm a under Benetton punter here. I'm not happy with what I saw last week. Small again, I haven't found my feet in this tournament yet. In fact, I got 4 out of 5 wrong last week on my calls. So yeah, for me, Benetton under points here. All over the place. They're not on the field. Fareed, they're all over the place in the change room and the shop and everywhere else. There's no confidence from here. In any other given season or week, I would have gone happily plus 13 here. But in this tournament, in this game fixture, I'm not interested. I don't even care if this is an E team for Leinster. This 13 is not enough. Really isn't. They're not going to score anything.
The Oracle is informed, says Dan. He's going over the Fareed says, and a bit tongue-in-cheek here. He says Leinster's resting players for the next Rugby World Cup.
Correct.
Yes, but the good news, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna stop us here. We're gonna come back to this game, but we're gonna work our way back here because I see the Mossman has arrived. He's got his child dropping duties out the way. Mossman, great to have you back on the show, man. Welcome.
There's the grand piano I told you about.
Yeah,
that's the one. He promised to play it for us, Gav.
Play a few tunes.
And Nathan, first of all, we'll jump back to the first URC game. But how things been going from you punting wise? I know you internationals. You said you were going to take it a bit easy. I assume though you've been punting NPC and URC.
I have, yeah. It's been. I was going to call it an off season. I suppose it's not really an off season, but it's been interesting. I think when I got to the end of the last Northern Hemisphere season, I sort of started thinking about how I could scale up what I was doing. Obviously, anybody that sort of wins for an extended period of time knows that eventually you'll get limited or cut off in a few places. Which definitely happened to me. So it was actually interesting because I reached out to a guy who does kind of educational content, has a podcast, has a website, and I sort of said to him, I haven't seen any content from you about people that move. So in American sports, they talk about moving, people who can book action on behalf of others, that sort of thing. And he said, it's quite an advanced topic. It's probably not for the audience, but he said, I work with a group, like a syndicate who are in this kind of space, and I can introduce you. So like I had a call with this guy, had a call with this other group, so sort of got involved with a syndicate basically. So that's been interesting because it's a totally different style of operation. And trying to scale up what you're doing there. So it's been really interesting. Obviously, just seeing a whole different side of the business, really, of the industry.
Okay, very interesting. What we're going to do, Nathan, I'm just going to jump back on the URC games, and you can share your views, and then we'll bring Oracle back in when we get back to the Benetton game. We've got 2 games Friday night, South African time. Cardiff +6.5 against Glasgow, the defending champs.
To be 100% honest with you, I haven't deep dived into any of this yet. So I tend to, it's one of the things actually is that betting in the style that I'm doing now is that it's pretty much betting on game day or just before because there isn't liquidity like earlier in the week to actually get down in any kind of volume. So I tend to leave things late. So I haven't done anything as yet. I haven't run a whole bunch of numbers, which is obviously part of the process. What would I do here? I tell you what, I'll go Oracle style and I'll just shoot from the hip then, without any form of real analysis behind it. I'll just come at you. So this I might lean towards Cardiff in this one.
Right. Well, I can tell you, Oracle, and I'll bring you back in now. Oracle actually he had a similar view. He wasn't overly confident on the game, but he sort of went actually Cardiff on the board here might be the value play. Gav, you got something to add there?
I was just going to say, I'm enjoying the fact that Mr. Piano Man over here enjoys my lack of research. There's a little bit of research, Nathan. It's not zero. I definitely do look at something. But I was going to say that don't worry about coming on the show not having researched something, because I know that a lot of punters out there, and I'll invite the comments here to say, how do you feel when somebody asks you, if you see somebody asked a question on a bet and they don't have the research? In other words, I'm really interested to know how you feel off the bat. When you see something, does it look right? Does it look wrong? How do you feel? So I think that's very important. So don't worry about not having done any homework on this. I think the punters are really interested to know what a successful punter feels when he sees a price. That's me. If I say to somebody, what do you think about this game? I don't care if they've done their research or not. I want to know that if they're hesitating and they're thinking about it for 3 minutes, maybe it's not the right person to ask. But if you're asking a question and the guy's got an answer for you, I like that answer. I mean, I'm interested in that answer.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree. I think there's multiple layers to analysis, and one of them is gut feel. And I'll give you an example. It was 2 weeks ago, I think it was a Friday night game, Hawke's Bay, Taranaki. My numbers said Hawke's Bay, and I was literally 5 minutes out from kickoff, and I was so adamant that number was wrong that I just said, I'm just going to bet the other side. And I just had one of the biggest bets of the year on Taranaki in that game, and they ended up winning by 60 or some crazy thing. So it was sometimes you can look at your own number and you just feel that the number's so wrong that you say it's telling me to bet the other side. And I'm not saying I do it very often because I don't think, it's something that you want to do all the time. But as in one-off situations, I think there is something to it.
And I also think just to that, because I particularly early in the week, I tend to work on that because I don't have a model or anything like that. I set my handicaps, and then I normally, and in this case, funny enough, bookmakers came out within 2 points of my handicaps, which on all games, which I was quite surprised about. But for me, Gav, it's fine to do what you're saying. Let's just say if you've been in the game for a while, because you get a feel, like you say, someone could put a handicap in front of you on a game, and I mean, you haven't really deep dive into it, but you can tell the handicap's wrong. Or like last week when the total points line came out for the box game at 51.5. I didn't need to go and research. I did when I did the preview, but I didn't need to go and research Nelspruit. All I had to do was check the weather, and I knew that 51.5. The fact that it just arrived is another story, but that it wouldn't last come kickoff. So I totally agree with you guys there. Nothing wrong with shooting from the hip there. That's for sure. And well, there's another game on at the same time. Nathan Scarlett's up against Connacht. Connacht's been pretty impressive so far. Good comeback against the Sharks last week. What do you think of this one?
I think this is one I would probably stay off personally. But yeah, I think if I was going to go in any direction, just based purely on gut feel, it probably would be Connacht. Yeah, I mean, I think Scarlets
the hip shooter's not doing too badly there, Brent.
Yeah, exactly. Just some comments here. Blake saying I need to make a few T-shirts from your Oracle. Maybe we'll have to get a merch store going there. And Farida Green, that's sometimes too much analysis. Farida, I just want to bring your comment up here because you're missing my point of the handicaps. I'm not handicapping where I think the game is going to finish. I'm handicapping where I think the handicap is going to finish.
Handicap will go correct.
Me, yes, the book. So for me, it's not people. I could handicap the game plus 6.5. If the bookies handicap it there's no real value for me. If the one team went by 30, my handicap was still pretty much where the bookies were. So for me, it's not about. I'm not trying to predict how many points the team's going to win by. I'm trying to see where's the market. Like in the total points last week, the market was always going to come to the mid-50s. And for me, it's like if the market's different to where I expect, that's my signal to get involved there. Shane just saying, take example, Benetton, Leinster handicap line. Historical odds, you can trace back the line is set at 13.5. So you tend to learn the line numbers. Farid says, gotcha, Brent. Yeah, no problem, Farid. I thought I better just point that out to people. Right, we've got Saturday games. Now we get into the South African games, Nathan. Lions minus 8.5 against Edinburgh, and points here 51.5. Gavin and I chatted about this. I certainly like the points overs here, and he's quite strong on the Lions.
Yeah, I think I'd probably lean towards the Lions here as well. I think from memory last week, Edinburgh picked up a bonus point. They might consider that to be a good result for a 2-game tour, and therefore, sometimes on the second matches of these trips, if they feel like they've kind of accomplished what they set out to do, sometimes they take foot off the gas a little bit. I think the other thing was that I think the Lions actually put out a relatively weak team last week, and so they might see some improvements there.
Oracle, you want to add?
Yes, so I wanted to ask that question. I think that's quite important. Is Nathan's just brought up, they should be happy with what they got. So when teams come to South Africa for a 2-game tour, what are they expecting to get? 4 points a win, 5 points with a bonus point. They could get 10. So what is a good report card for a team coming here? I'm talking about a top team. I'm not talking about a Zebra or a Dragons or whatever. I'm talking about these Scottish teams, these Irish teams that come over here. What's a good score out of 10? What do they expect? Because you're right. If they've got what they thought they'd get, if 5 points is a good result, then you're right. Maybe they don't care for the next game. I don't know.
But I'll throw something else at you then, a slightly different angle on that. If I'm Edinburgh coming to South Africa, and bear in mind they probably haven't been following the Curry Cup and all, but if I'm looking at the Bulls and the Lions games, which game do you think they were targeting to win? I would say they target Lions.
I think 100%. I think it's a fair comment. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a difficult one. I mean, for me, as I said earlier, I'm only interested in points at this stage, as long as that line hangs around there. But another tough one.
I think. Talking about teams targeting games, it's generally reflected in the lineups. So they will say, we're going to rest a few guys for the first game because we're targeting the second game. I don't recall that happening last week. I thought the team that they put out was pretty much as good as they could do. I mean, I could be wrong again. You have to go back and look at it, but yeah, that is another thing to look at.
Let's see what Fareed's got to say. Lions are again a mid-table team, good for Curry Cup, but not quite top.
Hey, easy on my Lions there, Fareed. They're not mid-table.
Yeah, go easy on Oracle's Lions. Although actually,
champion elect.
I think I think Fareed's not far off the mark there, but yes, fair enough, Oracle. Right, Nathan, minus 13.5 the Bulls against an Ulster side that I must say did disappoint me last week. What do you reckon here? Because Oracle was saying, the Bulls weren't that impressive either.
No. This might be one where if I could wait and maybe get something at 14.5, I'd probably look to Ulster.
Okay, and I think we're almost at the game.
Sorry, whoa. You got to ask him. Can Ulster win the game, Nathan? Because I'm punting them to win the game here. I say they can.
Well, obviously they can.
And,
at a 14.5.
Have they a better chance than the odds suggest? Is where I'm going here. Sorry. Yes. Of course they can.
Yes. Yeah, I can't really answer that, to be honest. I don't have a strong feel for that.
But
I think 14.5 handicap or 13.5. I think you're talking about a team in that situation probably wins maybe 10% of the time, something like that.
Yeah,
maybe less. You'd have to do the maths. So if you think that there's a 15% chance of them winning this game, then yeah, that's a good bet.
Gav, I'm going to just quickly look at something. I don't know if we've got alternate caps yet, but I'm going to pose that same question. I know where you're going with this, and remember we spoke about Argentina, South Africa in Argentina, and you were saying, would you rather?
Yep. He's gone. We lost him. He's coming back.
He said, but he did say that you knew where he was going with this. So
so last week we looked at. He's back. Yeah, we looked at the game where. Was it Argentina at home, Brent? I can't remember.
Yes, Argentina at home, and you said they had a chance of winning, and they were 7-2. And if you wanted to take the same bet on the other side of
the handicap was 10.
South Africa minus 25.5, and you said I'd far rather have the 7-2 about an Argentina. As a matter of interest, I wanted to just have a look at this game and see if I can get an alternative.
Yeah, so the difference here would be Ulster winning the game on the board at a 13-point handicap. And
yeah. The only thing is the bookies haven't priced up all the alternate caps, so I can't.
Yeah, I know. So that would be a minus 26 or a minus 25, and I think you're going to see quite a big difference in price.
So what is the money line in this game? I actually don't have it in front of me.
13 must be 13 must be about 4, 9-2.
Sorry,
4.5.
So also we're playing 550 in decimal. Yeah. So,
yes. Yeah, 9-2. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, guys,
so that's
playing up.
So my math is a little bit off there. I mean, obviously it's juiced. That's implies that there's probably maybe a 15% chance. So what did I say? 10? Not too far away.
No, 9-2. No, 5.5 would be 18%. Yeah.
It is 18, but it's juiced, right? So it's not like that includes VIG. So it's not like giving you a true probability. It's probably going to go the other way.
Okay, guys. Yeah. Sorry, I keep popping off my Wi-Fi's playing up. But next game for you, Nathan, and then we'll get back onto the games that Oracle and I haven't discussed. Benetton plus 13.5 against Leinster.
I think Leinster are a team where I think you actually do need to see the team sheet because we talked about it a lot last year. There's the ABC team. They rotate a lot. You're never quite sure what you're going to get until they bring it out. I would want to see that first before getting involved in this. Like if they do bring the A team, I think that's a cap that they can cover. But it gets really dicey once they start mixing the team up. The performances are really up and down.
Yeah, and these team sheets come out very late in the URC. Tell me something. We'll get into NPC in a sec, but I mean, I know Super Rugby Wednesday afternoon. I think it was the team sheets come out. What's the story with the NPC? How far in advance does it come out?
Yeah, it's coming out Thursday afternoons. So that's a new thing from this year. So they're all coming out at 2:00 in the afternoon, which is great. Like you've got some certainty about what's happening. The only variation on that is the teams that play what they call the Storm Week. So they play the Wednesday game. They'll come out on a Friday afternoon. So there's still some team sheets to come for this week. But in general, they're all there.
Okay, let's go into the next game then. I just want to find it here. And we'll start with you, Oracle. But before I bring Oracle in on this game, there's a little black thing sticking out over my right shoulder, left as you guys look at it. Let's see if the guys in the live chat can figure out what that is sticking out there in front of the curtain. That
Can I have a guess?
Right.
What's their prize, Brent? What's the prize?
The prize is next week. I'll do the show on it.
Is it an exocycle? It looks like maybe some sort of cycle.
Yeah, it is. I'll be interested to see if any of the guys would have gotten that. But Gab, Dragons plus 7.5 against the Sharks.
Sharks to win to 0. You can take minus 7.5 Sharks all day long as your money lasts. This is best bet of the week. This is the best bet. Don't have to ask me later. Sharks minus. They had a great start against Connacht last week. Yes, they failed. I'm not too worried about that. I was impressed with what they did in the first half. And honestly, this is a team that won the Currie Cup. It's a decent team. They shouldn't have lost last week's game. And this Dragons team, what did I call last week? I said go under Dragons points. Was I right? Of course I was right. This team is just absolute rubbish. I'm sorry. Sharks minus. You can take any bet here. Dragons will not feature in the betting in the activity in this game. They're rubbish. It's just a race over. Pay the punters. Sharks by plenty. Pick your number.
Right, Nathan. I'm sure you don't have quite the same confidence as the Oracle in this game.
You might be more confident. Who knows? We'll hear.
I just thought it was interesting that I obviously didn't see the Sharks game last week. So they did Connacht come back from a big deficit or something. So that's right. Yeah. Because all I saw was that the Sharks, they kicked an 80th minute penalty, I think, to try and get a bonus point, which actually took it outside the cap. So that's all I saw about the game. But you were saying that they were in control and kind of let it slip.
Well, the first half, they definitely were.
27 and a half.
Sorry, I want to say one more thing.
They were well clear at halftime, 20 points clear.
They were well clear, but Nathan, you've got to get a bit of context from the week before when they beat the Lions in the Currie Cup final. I'm not sure if you watched that. But they were down for most of that game and got up with a 60-meter or 50 or whatever, 58-meter kick from an ex-Lion. So they went on this tour with confidence. There's no doubt. They were confident. And with a first half start like they had, they should not have lost that game. They threw it away, but they're now up against arguably the worst team in this competition. I mean, I know you can look at it from lots of different angles, but honestly, I say honesty all the time. I don't see Dragons scoring a point here. I think this is over. This is 0, 20-0, 25-0.
I must say I am leaning towards Sharks on the handicap. I do think there'll be a few points for the home team in this one, but let's have a look at this game now, and I'll start with Nathan. We've got Munster minus 12.5 against Ospreys. I'm going to mention the points line of 49.5 because I want to bring up a comment that Shane made earlier just around the conditions in this game. Weather report, Munster versus Scarlets, torrential. It was not Scarlets, though. Hey, it's Munster versus Ospreys, eh? Yeah, so Munster versus Ospreys, but I also looked at the weather forecast for Munster. There's a lot of rain about. Total points of 49 could be quite high there. But Nathan, what do you think of this game? Munster lost to Zebra, of course, last week.
Yeah, exactly. And I would definitely probably get on the Ospreys here at that number. That weather forecast probably backs that up as well. It's difficult for teams to run up decent scores in bad conditions, right? Like this game, if it's as bad as what people are saying, it could finish, 7-10 or something like that, right? And when the points line becomes that low, clearly, it's very difficult for any team to cover a large cap. That's just, there's just not enough points, in the game to distribute them in that way. So you'll find what happens is if that points line comes down, that the cap will drop as well. That's just how it works because those two things are linked and they have to be balanced. So that would make me, I'd probably lean Ospreys anyway, and that probably is just an extra bonus.
Yeah.
This is a tough one, Brent. This is probably the hardest of all of the games this weekend, and I'm not going to agree with Nathan here. For me, it's a Munster minus or it's a no bet, and I'm leaning towards no bet. So I'm torn here. The one result that I wasn't too particularly Ospreys surprised me, not Munster. Munster played okay. The Ospreys played better than I expected them to. So yes, it is. Yeah, this is the hardest game. I don't have an answer here. This is minus or no bet. If you like the minus or you feel like you like the minus, take it. But I wouldn't go plus here. I'd either have no bet or minus.
Possibly a point.
Sorry,
If the conditions are
that's not a lot of help.
Yeah, but points are somewhere you can look at there. Keep a close eye on the weather. This is one of the few games that has got bad weather forecast for the weekend. I think we've got one game left, and it involves the South African team. Gavin, I'll start with you. Zebra, who beat Munster last week, up against the Stormers, who, of course, lost to Ospreys in their opening match. The home team here, plus 10.5. Can they go back-to-back? We talked about it a lot with Argentina in the internationals, about teams struggling to reproduce. But Zebra here, plus 10.5.
Brent, I was a Stormers minus punter last week, which was crazy. And which comment is haunting me or has haunted me this week is Henrik saying he's a Province supporter and not a Stormers supporter. I would have, 19 out of 20 weeks I'm back in the Stormers here. But I'm going to tell you, and this is not a plus either, back as Zebra to win the game on the board. You're going to get value, 5-2, 3-1. They can win. They beat Munster. They got confidence. Stormers were poor. Jeez, they were poor. Yeah, small bet. Zebra on the board. Done. Simple. Done.
Zebra on the board for you. For readers saying Stormers by 20 or more. You couldn't get a bigger difference between two guys. So Nathan, you got anything firm on this one?
Yeah, I was on the Ospreys last week, so it didn't surprise me. But I'd take Zebra on the plus here as well. I mean, it's like a home underdog. There's nothing that we've seen in recent times to suggest that the Stormers deserve any kind of really big head start to try and cover. Again, if you think about what they're trying to get out of this, like their tour is probably heading to be a bit of a disaster, right? I think they would just want to get out of here with 4 points.
QM system saying Zebra's got their quota for the season. But that brings us into NPC now. Gavin is not going to contribute, and neither am I here on the NPC. I've had one NPC bet, and it was an unders halftime play, and it actually arrived. So I've got a 100% record in the NPC this season. But I haven't been following that closely. But Nathan, I know a lot of guys on the show do follow the NPC closely, and certainly on our forum as well. So I'm going to run through the games, and you can just share your views if you've got any views on the game. If you don't, no problem. We pass and move on to the next one. And the first one is, I suppose, tomorrow morning, Northland up against Otago. Close game, was -1.5 the home team.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a whirlwind round because I actually do have a hard stop. I need to get out of here in a couple of minutes. Sorry, I should have let you know that earlier.
No problem. Yeah, we'll whip through very quickly.
Yeah, we'll go quick. So I'm hoping that this drops a little bit lower because I think people will probably back Otago. They'll say, "Oh, Otago's still got something to play for. They can make the quarterfinals." If that line comes down, if I could get
17.5 against Counties.
Just going to say, if I could get Northland something close to pick 'em, I'll take Northland. This one, yeah, I'm a little bit unsure about this one. I think Counties probably, they need the bonus point, so they'll go all out. So it's probably Counties. Southland, Northland, again, Harbour do have something to play for, but I think Southland aren't a bad team. I think at home, I probably lean Southland here.
Wellington -8.5 against Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot to get on Hawke's Bay. So I like Hawke's Bay here. They've got a couple of players back that they've been missing. I think they had back-to-back sort of 50-point losses, and I think that's going to scare a lot of people off Hawke's Bay, but they're actually still a good team when they've got their top team out, which they should do this weekend.
Canterbury, plus a half a point against Waikato.
This is exactly where I thought it would be, and it started at kind of 3.5, and I think Canterbury were a good bet at that number. I wouldn't touch it at this number.
Sorry, did you say 3.5?
Sorry, minus.
Yeah, it was Canterbury plus 3.5 early in the week, and I thought it would stay around, so I just left it because I would have taken that, but it's gone.
And
Tasman,
minus 8.5?
Yeah, I think I like Tasman here. I think they've got a few All Blacks coming back, and it's a Radcliffe Shield game. They'll be keen to keep it for the summer, so I'd get on Tasman.
And then the final game, Auckland plus 7.5. So this is someone who doesn't follow the NPC. I would have expected Auckland to be favourites at home, but I do watch the breakdown, and they've obviously had a terrible season. But can they beat the Handicap against Bay of Plenty?
They have been terrible, and the other thing is that this is the final game. I think by this point, Auckland will know whether they're a chance of actually making it. I suspect that they won't be. Bay of Plenty are a really good team, probably underrated by the bookmakers and the lines and the betting public. So I would probably lean towards Bay of Plenty.
Right, and that was a nice quick rip through the NPC there. Nathan, if you've got a bolt, what I would suggest is give us a closing statement, maybe if you do fancy anything strong. I know it's not a weekend, you're getting heavily involved, but if you had to pick a bet that stands out for you?
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Sharks minus, Nathan. Sharks minus. Go Sharks minus.
I'll pass at this point. I would probably need to have a closer look at it, and I'll probably rattle off about 10 games and haven't looked closely at any of them. So, yeah, I'll love you and leave you.
100%, man. Nathan, good to have you back on, mate. We'll be in touch.
Yes.
I know, as I say, I was telling Gavin, quite a lot of guys, I get quite a few emails when I send my newsletter out, and guys reply and say, when's Nathan coming back on the show? So, yeah, very good to have you back on, and we'll be in touch. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Yes, guys. See ya.
Sure. Thanks very much, Nathan. Mark Dumpy coming in later evening. Or Mark, good to have you on the show, mate. I hope all is well with you. I'm sure you like the top. And comments here on that, we have to push through it. Stormers a Bay of Plenty for him, for me, says for. Yeah, yourself then. Obviously, best bet on the weekend for you.
Brent, I think it's as easy as Sharks minus and Lions minus. Those
Sharks
are
minus and Lions minus. Okay, I'm just going to skip. I'll obviously send my newsletter out. I must say it's a weekend. I'm not particularly strong.
Brent's gone. Yeah, I think he's coming back, but I'm not much of a presenter haven't been for.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yes.
Very quickly, yeah, sorry, man. We'll end the show now because my Wi-Fi is absolutely messed it up. 51.5 overs in the Lions game. That is available at the moment. I think this game will start in the mid-50s as well, similar to the Box game last week. Thanks to all the guys in the live chat. I'll quickly have a final look at comments. Johan, of course, we want to put your treble in there. Lions Edinburgh over 51.5. Ulster plus 14.5. Hawke's Bay plus 7.5. And yeah, Mark, I have been able, that's about the fourth time tonight. I don't know. My Wi-Fi has just been dropping me tonight. And Leicester Tigers to do the business in the Premiership. Well, thanks very much, guys. And let me turn to the Oracle and say, Oracle, thanks for coming on the show. Good to have you on. I was very pleased with Nathan joined us there because I was worried you and I were going to have to talk NPC. But yeah, have a good weekend. Anything else you're looking forward to?
No, I just no, nothing. I'm just looking forward to the summer of sport here, Brent. The Nedbank Challenge, the Pakistanis are coming to South Africa. I'll be at the Test match in Cape Town, SA20 starting in January. Yeah, that's Boxing Day and New Year's Day EPL games. I put in my leave today. I'm just excited. Summer's great, and yeah, it just works nicely for us. And yeah, just excited to see the sun shining today, and I don't know. I just feel better in summer. I enjoy the European winter, June, July, with the British Open and the Tour de France and all of that stuff. But I like summer in South Africa, and yeah, looking forward to watching some sport and enjoying it. But nothing else this weekend, just the rugby, as we've discussed. Yeah, I like Lions minus, and I like Sharks. Yeah.
I'll be watching a little bit of Alfred Daniel. Rory, he's 8 shots back, but they're all on different courses. So I'm hoping Rory has a bit of a run this week. But then I just want to
mention that Daniel one?
Rugby. Yeah, the Daniel. Yeah, so they played 3 courses for the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I remember that. King's something, King's Barnes, and
King's Barnes, Carnoustie, and Sanan. But the thing I want to mention is the ladies' rugby. I see South Africa play Australia this weekend, and South African rugby ladies have really been doing well. And then I saw the other day that Ireland beat New Zealand in a ladies' game. Now, I asked on Twitter what was the handicap, because some guys were talking about it as a massive upset, and someone told me it was plus 42.5, and they won, I think it was 29-27. And the reason I mention this is because we've got a ladies' World Cup coming up next year.
Yeah.
And Gav, it's harder and harder to get an edge over the bookmakers, because obviously the bookmakers, they're more and more clued up. If you look at soccer, you can hardly ever get a proper edge. Rugby, you can still get an edge with weather and team selections and stuff like that. But I'm saying ladies rugby, women's rugby could be the way to go for us punters. We should be starting to study now so that we're ready come the World Cup next year. What do you think?
I'm 100% in agreement, but you said you watched the breakdown, and they discussed that game against Ireland. And it's almost like they were horrified. I didn't realize it was plus 40. I know they would have been a plus team, but it sounded quite a lot. But this New Zealand team is not performing. In fact, they've started most breakdown shows, excuse me, in the first 5 or 6 minutes, and they've discussed the Silver Ferns, I think they call them. I can't even remember what the name is. But
I don't think they hadn't played. I did watch the breakdown, but I must be honest, I dozed through some of it as well. But am I right in saying I don't think they'd played yet, or had they? Did they review that game, or were they still? I got the feeling they were still to play Ireland after the breakdown this week. So I don't know.
Unless it was this week. Yes, sorry, I'm obviously talking about Monday's show, but they were unhappy about the previous results, so they'd obviously played somebody. But I'm going to suggest I've used a little side eye to watching that, and you might remember that 8 years ago. Which would have been 2016. We had a World Cup as well. And I know that on my Oracle Rugby website at the time, I did tip some of these games, and I got them horribly wrong, Brent. I didn't put a lot of homework into it. I think I was 7 units down, going like quarters and halves. I was murdered. I got them completely wrong. But to go to your point earlier, yes, if you do a bit of homework here, I've said this for years in this industry, if you do more homework than the bookmaker, you win money. It's as simple as that. Obviously, the discipline and the money management aside, you will win money. So 100%. If you start watching these results, start looking at what handicaps are, and the deviation from handicap, the result to handicap deviation, we saw 60 there. You don't see that in men's rugby. You don't see it today. You saw it in 87, 91, 95 for that matter. You don't see it today. A minus 80 team loses by between 60 and 100. They don't lose by 160, and they don't lose by 20. They lose close to what the handicap is. So the science from a men's game point of view is up there. They'll catch up eventually in the women. So this is your opportunity. It's the same as Varsity Cup. We've discussed that in First Division Rugby. The bookmakers don't put a lot of effort into that. They don't put a lot of time into it. If you do a little bit of homework, you win here. And I got to say, what's that South African game against the Spanish? Geez, was try for try. I don't know if you watched it, the women's game that was recently in Cape Town. I didn't go to the stadium, but I watched most of the game. And it's like, it's difficult because you can't see momentum there. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see a team that was on top. Either of those teams, in my opinion, I was watching, could have won by 20. Like there were points in the game where they literally could have gone anywhere. So it's difficult to tell. I haven't watched a lot of women's rugby, so I'm probably a bad example. But from a price perspective and a results perspective, knowing that it's a year away or just over a year away, I'm interested. So yes, I will take some notice. But I will tell you this: if you want your account closed, Stick 10 grand on a women's game in rugby, your account will be closed. If you win, you're closed. So this is for fun. Don't think you're going to take 100 or 200 off a bookmaker on women's rugby. You've got absolutely no chance. I'm going to tell you, you've got no chance. No chance. This is 500 rand stuff, 200 rand stuff. If you're brave, put £1,000. First of all, you shouldn't be putting a lot of money on these games because they're hell of a hard to call. And if you win, keep it low. Chuck them a few casino spins and some lucky numbers punts to make your account look like a mug status. But geez, if you hammer them in one go, yeah, you're in huge trouble. Your account's closed. It's just closed.
Let me ask you something, Gab. But I want to ask you something just while we're on that topic, because I agree with you 100%. If you suddenly go start putting 10 grand on a women's game, you can kiss your account goodbye, right or wrong, probably, you know. But if you're, and I know you on that side of the fence, and you've been many years.
I'm on both sides, Brent. I've been on both sides for 25 years.
No, you're on both sides. But what I'm saying from an analysis point of view, if I'm a rugby punter and I'm punting 10 grand a game or whatever, is it worth my while sometimes after a decent win to go and blow 2 grand in the casino? Will they? I mean, are they going to actually say, look, hey, hold on, this guy also plays casino, let's keep him on? Or is it more just a case of saying, no, man, this guy's too good at rugby, we don't want him?
I'm going to tell you to blow the 2 grand before you win the 5 grand. Most, you can laugh. I'll tell you what, most of these algorithms, and especially the European companies, they've got algorithms out there saying, what was this first guy? What was his first deposit? So let's put it this way. If you're going to do a 5 grand deposit, do a 50 rand deposit first. Because a lot of these algorithms are, what was your first deposit? What was your first bet? What did you do in your first 3 or 4 days of punting? If you open an account, deposit on the same calendar day, because the algorithm likes you, thinks you're a fantastic punter, because you didn't open an account on Monday and have your first bet on Friday. You open an account on Monday, have your first bet on Monday. Make sure it's a casino bet. Make sure it's a lucky numbers bet. Make sure it's a mug bet, whatever it is, a 60-leg soccer multiple. That the algorithms like you, and they tell the company, this Ike is good. Keep him. Even if he wins for the first 3 months, computer says, I like us, Ike. This is a good punter because of his first couple of days' behavior sets the tone. So I know that, I had a mate years ago. Sorry, one more quick story, Brent. I know I've got stories all day long. One of my mates, he's like winning at this place, and he says to me, he's worried. He's like won too much. I said to him, throw them a couple of mug bets, and he couldn't do it. He actually couldn't take his money and say, I'm donating. And if you're a good punter and you're winning your, I'm going to say 20 grand to 100 grand a year, whatever your number is, bro, it's like tax. Chuck your 5-7% at absolute mug stuff. And if you're very clever, do it first. Don't do it at the end. Do it in the beginning. Because if that computer thinks, that algorithm thinks you're in mug, it'll think you're a mug for a long time.
And if you hit it, if you happen to hit like a jackpot or something, that's even better, because the algorithm, that's pure chance. So then they're going to want you, they want to keep you on to get that money back. That would be the ultimate dream, is taking money, throwing it at the machines just to try and look like a mug and then end up winning something.
Yes, I'm just going to answer Shane's question.
Yes.
So my answer to you, Shane, is if you're winning money and you're winning money, I'm going to use South African horse racing. So I know a little bit about English and Irish racing, but let's talk about South African racing for a second, because that's something I do know and understand very well. So if you back a horse at 10 to 1 and the horse wins, and the starting price of the horse at just before the race is 10 to 1, no one will say anything to you. If you back that 10 to 1 shot and it goes 12 to 1, no one will say anything to you. But if you back that 10 to 1 shot and starts at 4 to 1 and it wins, computer doesn't like you. And if you back a 7 to 1 shot and it starts at 5 to 1 and it wins, computer don't like you. If you back an even money shot and it starts at 8 to 10, computer don't like you. So the horse racing punters, even the clever ones, and I've seen them in my time in this industry, the Oaks that win money, they take their bets as close to the starting price as they can get. So again, 14 to 10 starts 13 to 10, Yeah, it's slightly lower, no one cares. But if you back it at 14 to 10 and starts at 8 to 10, the algorithm says, not so good. And there's Brent gone again. But yeah, if you're going to win on legitimate prices, close to game time, you will carry on forever. I want to close you. If you're betting on legitimate prices that are not shortening, bookmakers don't like shortening price. They don't like you backing a price that shortens. They don't care if it drifts.
They always want the edge. I mean, I guess that's the game. And if you're backing things that shorten over time, like I'll take that once again, going back to that Jolly Lions minus 10.5 in the semi-finals against the Cheetahs. I was big on the 10.5. The line moved to 15.5. I bet. But over time, if I keep betting like that, I will win
Yeah, you're right.
But I think this could be quite an interesting show. Maybe we should do a show one day on how to bet to try and not be banned. What do you think? Maybe an interesting one.
Yes, but Brent, I've got something else to say, and I I had the conversation with friends of mine over the last. I'm going to say this conversation has lasted 3 weeks. Now, the guys are asking what's enough. Now, I'm retiring, planning to retire very soon. Now, my number's very low compared to what other people are saying. And I'm when we did that political compass, I'm a bottom left-hand corner. So I'm a heavy socialist and I'm a heavy left politically. So I read on Discovery's top 5 earners got 205 million rand. And I'm going like, what do you need more than R1 million in a year? You don't need 30, 50. What are you doing with the one guy, the top oak was 70 million. I'm going, what is he doing with the other 69 million? So I'm a bad example here, but I'd like to use that as a point of reference to this conversation. When you're betting with bookmakers, what's your intention? You want to win money. Okay, we all want to win money, but how much do you want to win? I saw Dunphy putting a comment on there. You can't get 100 grand. And I know bookmakers in South Africa. Never mind. Oh, Dunphy, don't worry. We'll have a chat. You'll be very amazed at my where I come from, and not where I come from, but where I'm thinking and how I operate. But yeah, anyway, to go back to your 100K. So the 100K, first of all, is, I'm assuming it's euros. You're going to find a bookmaker that's going to lay you a 2 million rand bet in South African money. They're not laying it to you in South Africa. They're not interested, because the small oaks you're going to put out, and the bigger guys, they don't need you. They got 2 million R1 punters. They don't care about you. So, I have to ask this question, and I didn't know the answer 10 years ago, Brent. What are we betting for? For me, it's entertainment. I want to be able to make that 500 rand, 1,000 rand, 2 grand to pay for breakfast on Sunday morning. I don't want to close the account. I'm not trying to make 100 grand out of bookmakers. The days are gone when I had to pay school fees and I started every month minus. I got through those years. I'm okay now. I don't need to. In fact, I actually often say to my wife, sometimes I'm betting for the wrong reason. In fact, I think I've had the conversation with you, Brent. Sometimes I think I stick 2 grand on something and I think, why did I do that? I'm happy to put 100 rand on, 200 rand on. So for me, it's about fun. If you make a little bit of money, take your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, or whoever it is, take them out for lunch, buy them some flowers. But if you think you're going to be making, 100 grand, 200, 300, 400,000 from, you're just going to get limited. You're going to get irritated. You're going to want to take an oak out. What are you doing? Why are you, what's the purpose of that? If you make yourself in today's money in South African rand, and you can divide by 20 for the Dunphys of the world, if you make yourself, honestly, 20 grand a year, 30 grand a year, 1,000 rand a month, so 50 euros a month, that's decent, bro. What are you trying to do? You're gonna put out a small like, you're gonna get yourself limited that you're gonna be betting on your neighbor's name and your girlfriend's name and your cousin's name. I don't know. The professionals, there are professionals out there. I've met a few of the best in South Africa. And yeah, that's what they do. And they're betting through all sorts of people's different names. And they're betting on, they've got, my favorite is the guys that show up at the cash shops. And they pay the car guards to take the bet. And the oaks run in and take the bet at 6 different cashiers to get their 100 grand on as Mark said, they run out with their tickets. They get a commission if it wins. What are you doing? Most of us, we've got jobs. If you're a professional, sure. You're not even watching the show. You know what you're doing. I don't know. I've been ranting for a while.
100%. We'll call it quits there, but could make an interesting show. Sorry about my Wi-Fi there. I keep on disappearing. But Oracle, thanks a lot, mate. We'll
You're right. Let's do a show. Let's do a show.
Yeah. It'll be a good show. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week, Thursday, for the Handicap Rugby.